wife handed me papers, just a peek at what divorce looks like after 3 years. I thought she was joking. I said, "Interesting reading material." Then I pulled out my divorce papers I'd filed 2 weeks earlier, when she realized I'd beaten her to it. I, 36 male, work as a senior HVAC technician. Been doing it for 14 years. It's honest work, pays well, and I'm good at it. My wife was a marketing coordinator at a mid-size firm. We've been married 3 years, together for 5. No kids, which turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Last Thursday evening, I came home from a 12-hour shift. It was one of those brutal summer days where every AC unit in the county decides to die simultaneously. I was exhausted, covered in sweat, and just wanted a shower and some leftover pizza. My wife was sitting at the kitchen table with this smug expression I'd come to recognize over the past year. The one that said she knew something I didn't. The one that made me feel small. "Sit down," she said. "We need to talk." I didn't sit. Something in my gut told me to stay standing. She slid a manila envelope across the table. "Just a peek at what divorce looks like after 3 years. Thought you should see what you're working with before you waste any more of my time." I picked up the envelope, opened it. Standard divorce petition. Her lawyer's letterhead was fancy, one of those firms that advertises during daytime TV. I flipped through the pages. She was asking for the house that I'd bought 2 years before we met, half my retirement, spousal support for 3 years, and, this was rich, compensation for supporting my career during our marriage. Supporting my career. I literally taught her how to change a tire last year because she'd never learned. I looked at her face. That smug expression, that certainty that she'd blindsided me. "Interesting reading material," I said. Then I walked to the hall closet, reached behind the winter coats, and pulled out my own manila envelope. The one I'd been carrying around for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. I tossed it on the table next to hers. "Funny thing about that," I said. "I filed mine on the 3rd. You're about 14 days late." The smugness melted off her face like ice cream on hot pavement. She grabbed my envelope, tore it open, and her eyes went wide when she saw the court stamp. The filing date. The case number that proved mine was already in the system. "You? What? How did you?" "No," I finished for her. "Sweetheart, you've been checked out of this marriage for over a year. You think I didn't notice? The late nights that didn't add up? The work trips that never appeared on our shared calendar? The way you flinch when I try to touch you?" She was still staring at the papers. You can't just..." "I can. I did. And unlike your paperwork, mine is based on actual facts." I pointed to a section. "See that part? That's the forensic accountant's preliminary findings on the $34,000 you've moved to your personal account over the past 18 months. The one you opened without telling me." Her face went white. "Oh, and the part about the house? It's in a trust. Has been since before we got married. My lawyer says you're entitled to exactly nothing from it." She started crying. Not sad crying, angry crying. The kind where someone realizes their perfect plan just imploded. "You had no right to go through my finances. Actually, when you're married and filing taxes jointly, I have every right. And when you're funneling money out of our household accounts into a hidden personal account, that's called dissipation of marital assets. My lawyer is very interested in discussing that with the judge." I grabbed my keys. "I'm staying at my buddy's place tonight. My lawyer will be in touch about the formal separation of assets. Oh, and your papers?" I picked up her envelope and dropped it in the trash. "These are worthless now. First to file sets the jurisdiction. That's me." I left her sitting there, mouth opening and closing like a fish, her perfect ambush in ruins. Update 1, 4 days later. Okay, so this blew up and people want to know what happened next. Buckle up because it gets worse before it gets better. First, some context people asked about. How did I know to file first? About 3 months ago, I noticed small things. She started being extra nice, which sounds weird to complain about, but after a year of being treated like furniture, sudden enough felt wrong. She also started asking specific questions about my retirement account, my pension, the house paperwork, questions she'd never cared about before. Then my buddy, who works in insurance, mentioned he'd run into her at a consultation for a personal policy. She was asking about what happens to beneficiaries after divorce. He thought I knew. I didn't. I hired a lawyer quietly, paid cash so it wouldn't show up on any statements she could see. He suggested the forensic accountant, which is how we found the hidden account and the systematic transfers. $1,500 to $2,000 every month, labeled as personal expenses, on our main account, then moved to her secret one. She wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to clean me out first. So yeah, I filed, and I waited. Now back to the present chaos. The morning after our kitchen showdown, I got a call from her mother. Now, her mom has always been, let's say, involved. She's the type who believes her daughter can do no wrong and anyone who disagrees is attacking the family. "What did you do to my daughter?" she screamed into the phone. She called me crying all night. "You're trying to destroy her." "Ma'am, your daughter has been stealing from our marriage for 18 months and tried to serve me divorce papers demanding half of everything I own. I simply filed first. That's her money too. She's entitled to. She's entitled to what the court decides she's entitled to, which, given the hidden account and the dissipation of assets, won't be much. Have a nice day." I hung up. She called back 6 times. I let it go to voicemail. By Monday, my wife had hired a new attorney. Apparently her daytime TV lawyer took one look at my filing and noped out. The new guy was more aggressive. He sent a letter demanding I vacate the house immediately because my presence was causing my wife emotional distress. My lawyer responded with documentation showing the house was in a trust established before the marriage and that she had no legal claim to it. He also noted that if anyone should vacate, it should be her, since she was the one who initiated divorce proceedings. Her filing, though second, was still on record and was the party accused of financial misconduct. Tuesday afternoon, I stopped by the house to grab some work equipment. She wasn't supposed to be there. She'd told me she was staying with her sister. But there she was, sitting on the couch with her mother, her sister, and some guy I didn't recognize in a suit. "Perfect timing," my wife said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "This is my new attorney. We were just discussing how to proceed." Her attorney stood up. "Mister, I'm not discussing anything without my lawyer present. You know that. We just want to talk reasonably. Then schedule a meeting through proper channels. This is my house, and you're all here without my permission. That's trespassing." Her mother stood up, face red. "Trespassing? In your wife's home? It's not her home. It's my home. In a trust, which she has no claim to. We've established this." My wife's sister, who'd been quiet until now, jumped in. "You can't just kick her out on the street. She has rights. She has the right to find her own accommodations, yes, like the apartment she's been secretly funding with the money she siphoned from our accounts. The one on the east side? 3rd floor, I believe." The room went silent. Yeah, the forensic accountant was very thorough. Turns out that hidden account wasn't just for starting over money. She'd put down a deposit and first month's rent on an apartment 4 months ago. She'd been planning her exit strategy while still sleeping in my bed. My wife's face crumpled. "How do you know about?" "I know about everything. The apartment, the account, the consultations with 3 different divorce attorneys over the past 6 months. The fact that you've been telling your family I'm emotionally abusive to set up a narrative, even though you've never once reported anything or sought help because nothing ever happened." Her attorney looked at her with a new expression, the kind that said he was reconsidering his client. "I'd suggest," I continued, "that everyone leave my property. Now. The next conversation happens through lawyers or in court." They left. Her mother made sure to tell me I'd regret this on her way out. My wife didn't say a word. That night, I changed all the locks, called a locksmith, explained the situation, got everything done by midnight. Cost me $400, but worth every penny. Update 2, 10 days later. Things escalated, because of course they did. First, let me address something people keep asking. Yes, I know I'll probably have to give her something in the divorce. That's how it works. Even with the hidden account and the dissipation, she was my wife for 3 years. We accumulated some assets together. My lawyer has been clear that I should expect to lose some retirement funds, possibly pay some temporary support during proceedings, and split whatever we bought during the marriage. I'm not trying to leave her with nothing. I'm trying to make sure she doesn't leave me with nothing, which was clearly her plan. Now the escalation. 3 days after the house confrontation, I got a call from my HR department. Someone had made an anonymous complaint that I was using company resources to stalk my estranged wife. They had to investigate. I spent 2 hours with HR explaining the situation, showing them my lawyer's contact info, proving that everything I'd done was legal and through proper channels. They cleared me, but the fact that I had to deal with that at all? Infuriating. The next day, I found out who made the complaint. Her sister's husband works for a company that does business with mine. He'd called in a concerned tip to our shared vendor contact, who passed it up the chain. My lawyer sent him a cease and desist letter. He tried to claim it was just looking out for family, but his employer wasn't thrilled about him using business relationships for personal vendettas. Then came the big move. I got served with an emergency motion for exclusive use of the marital residence. Her new attorney argued that I was creating a hostile environment and that she needed the house for her mental health and safety. The hearing was scheduled for Friday. I took the day off work. In court, her attorney painted me as a controlling monster who'd been financially surveilling my wife and weaponizing the legal system against her. He presented texts where I'd asked her about purchases, normal marriage stuff, checking in about expenses, as evidence of controlling behavior. He showed emails where I'd questioned her late work nights as isolating tactics. Then my lawyer presented our evidence. Bank statements showing the systematic transfers, the lease agreement for her secret apartment, records of her consultations with divorce attorneys dating back 6 months, while she was still acting like everything was fine at home. The forensic accountant's report showing she dissipated over $34,000 from our shared finances. And the kicker, text messages between her and her sister, recovered from cloud backups during discovery, where she explicitly outlined her plan. The texts were damning. Her to her sister, "I just need to wait until the 3-year mark. That's when spousal support kicks in properly." Her sister, "Smart, get everything in order first. Already moving money, he's clueless, too busy working to notice anything." Her sister, "What about the house? My lawyer says since we've been living there during the marriage, I have a claim. Even if it's in a trust, I can argue I contributed to its upkeep." Her, "By the time I'm done, he'll be lucky to keep his truck, lol." The judge's face was stone as he read through them. My wife tried to claim the texts were taken out of context and that she was just venting to her sister. Her attorney looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. The judge denied her motion for exclusive use. He also issued a preliminary ruling that the house, being in a premarital trust with no evidence of her financial contribution to it, would likely remain my separate property. He scheduled a full hearing for asset division and noted that the evidence of dissipation would factor significantly into any support calculations. Outside the courthouse, her mother was waiting. She'd sat through the whole hearing. "You think you've won?" she said as I walked past. "You've destroyed her reputation, her future. For what? Money?" I stopped. She stole from me, planned to take everything I'd worked for, lied to my face for over a year while preparing to leave me destitute. I didn't destroy anything. She did. She's my daughter. And she should have thought about that before she tried to scam her husband. I left. Behind me, I heard her mother consoling my wife, who was crying again, but I didn't turn around. Update 3 final. 3 weeks later. It's over. Well, mostly over. The paperwork will take another few months to finalize, but the major decisions have been made. We had mediation last week. Court ordered, because the judge was tired of the back and forth. My wife showed up with her attorney and a new attitude, less entitled, more desperate. The money was running out. Her attorney was apparently working on a reduced fee, and her apartment lease was coming due without the divorce settlement she'd been counting on. The mediator went through everything. Assets, debts, the whole marriage laid out in spreadsheets. Final settlement. The house stays with me. Fully. Her attorney tried one last time to argue for compensation for improvements she'd contributed to, but when asked to specify what improvements, she mentioned decorating and gardening. The mediator was not impressed. The trust documentation was clear. It was never marital property. The retirement split. She gets 18% of what accumulated during the 3 years of marriage, not half. 18%. The dissipation calculation ate into her share significantly. The $34,000 she moved to her hidden account, that counted as her taking her share early. The forensic accountant's math was brutal but fair. Spousal support, none. The judge's preliminary comments about dissipation were taken seriously. Her attorney argued for temporary support during her transition period. But given that she'd already been funding her own separate life for months, the mediator found she'd self-supported her transition. I actually felt a dark satisfaction when that was announced. The apartment she'd secretly rented? She gets to keep it. And the furniture she bought with the siphoned money. That's her separate property now. The mediator noted, somewhat dryly, that she seemed to have planned her postmarital life quite thoroughly. Personal property split. She gets her clothes, her car, that's in her name, and whatever items we agree are hers. We spent 45 minutes arguing about a KitchenAid mixer before the mediator told us to flip a coin. I won. I don't even bake, but I'm keeping that mixer out of pure spite. The mediation ended with her refusing to look at me. Her attorney shook my attorney's hand with the exhausted respect of someone who'd been outmaneuvered at every turn. Her mother, who'd insisted on waiting in the lobby, started crying when my wife came out and explained the results. "This isn't fair," she wailed loud enough for everyone to hear. "She deserves half." The mediator, who was walking past, paused. "Ma'am, your daughter systematically extracted funds from her marriage while planning an exit strategy designed to maximize her take. The court's job isn't to reward that behavior. It's to ensure equitable distribution, which is what happened today." Her mother had no response. First time I'd ever seen her speechless. As I was leaving, my wife caught up to me in the parking lot. "You didn't have to do this," she said. Her voice was different, tired, defeated, but still with that undercurrent of resentment. "We could have worked something out. You didn't have to humiliate me." "You humiliated yourself," I said. "You spent 1.5 years lying to my face, stealing from me, and planning to take everything I'd built. The only reason you're not walking away with half my life is because you got caught." I wasn't stealing, I was protecting myself. "From what? I never raised a hand to you. Never controlled you. Never did anything except work 60-hour weeks to build a life I thought we were sharing." She didn't have an answer. "The truth is," I continued, "you checked out of this marriage the moment you realized I wasn't going to be your ticket to Easy Street. When you figured out I'm just a guy who works hard and lives modestly instead of some secret millionaire you could drain dry. So you started planning your exit, and you got sloppy. I loved you. You loved what you thought I could give you. When that didn't materialize, you found other options. I opened my truck door. I hope whatever you're looking for, you find it. But you won't find it by conning someone else. That trick only works once." I drove away. The paperwork was finalized 3 weeks later. I kept the house. I kept most of my retirement. I kept my sanity. Barely. She moved into her apartment full-time. Last I heard from mutual friends, she's telling everyone I was financially abusive and hid assets from her. The people who know us both don't believe her. The people who only know her side, well, they can believe what they want. Her family has cut off contact with everyone from my side. Her mother apparently told people I'm dangerous and manipulative. My own mother laughed when she heard that. The boy who cries when dogs die in movies? Dangerous? Please. I'm not celebrating. There's no victory lap here. I lost 3 years of my life to someone who saw me as a mark instead of a partner. I spent $14,000 in legal fees to protect what was already mine. I have to rebuild a life I thought was stable. But I'm not destroyed. That was her plan, and it failed. The house is quiet now. Too quiet sometimes. I've started having guys over to watch games, something she always discouraged. I'm looking at getting a dog, a rescue, something that needs a home, as much as I need the company. My therapist says I need to stop framing everything as winning or losing and start focusing on healing. She's probably right. But there's something satisfying about knowing that for once, the person who played games got played back. Her final text to me, sent from her sister's phone after the divorce was finalized: "You'll regret this. You'll die alone and miserable." I didn't respond. There's no point. She needs to believe I'm the villain because the alternative, accepting that she's the architect of her own failure, is too much for her. As for dying alone, maybe, but I'd rather be alone than be with someone who saw me as prey. The mixer's still in the box. I'm thinking about learning to bake. My mom has this bread recipe she keeps pestering me about trying. Small steps. Peace.